Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to SC Playbook, the EPL edition. My name's Alex Molchanoff, back in the house again, getting ready for game week 8. Gee, hasn't it flown by? No Garby today, out on assignment. No Matty Yerman, who's preparing for a game in the Asian Champions League with MacArthur Bulls against Beijing Guan. One of the fun things that our global game throws up. So we've got someone in who's well known to the SC Playbook community. He's doing pretty well for a first crack at SC Playbook in the EPL side of things. Long-time FPL player, Spy. Welcome to the EPL edition, mate. Thank you very much for jumping in today.
Mulchi, thanks for having me. I was chatting to the big guru, Timo, the brother, and he's like, yeah, right, we better get you on. So finally got the gig this week with a bit of persuading and ready to rock, mate.
Mate, I tell you what, your side is looking very impressive after 7 weeks. You're just shy of 6 up, 599 in total, 118 points coming off the weekend, which was a great score this week. Your side, if we run through that quickly, in fact, before we do that, just a little bit of your background on the FPL side of things, because you've had some pretty impressive finishes, I'm led to understand, on that side of things.
Yeah, so I didn't grow up as much a soccer/football fan.
Yep.
We call it soccer where I'm from, but obviously football around the world. But I can tell you when it all evolved.
Yeah,
Stevie G, Liverpool, about sort of 04, 05. Really got into it.
What an introduction into it. The Olympiacos goal, the Gerrard final in the FA Cup.
Not a bad time. Not a bad time to get involved.
Exactly right. And then FPL coming off the back of that?
FPL a bit later. So 7 full seasons on the back of that. Sort of probably a few years prior to COVID, and then that was perfect during the COVID lockdown and that.
Absolutely.
And my love of the game's just grown, mate. I'm just getting more and more into it each year. So it's bloody good. Standard doing a good job there, so we can keep on top of things. I was a bit worried we wouldn't be able to access it well, but they're doing all right.
Yeah, no, they've done a fantastic job since taking over from Optus. Everyone watching, listening to us today will be well aware of that. And your side, quickly before we get into things, team. Senesi, Munoz, Van der Ven, Diouf at the back. You're a Fernandez owner. Grealish and Dewsbury Hall, so doubling down on Everton. Not the biggest week for them this week. Holland, Semenyo, Richarlison. So we'll talk to you about your Salah thoughts over the course of the podcast, because I made the move last week.
Yeah, well, I got Bruno last week.
What a time. What a time.
And then,
yeah, he's tried interesting timing, and then you're sitting with Ballard, Cullen and Guillermo as a couple of pods on your bench at the moment, just
Cullen,
building value.
I've had from early days.
Yep.
We'll talk base stats today, but that's kind of why I got him just early days to cover up on that, make some money. He also put an own goal in the first week I got him, so that was good. Good midfielder acquisitions. And then the West Ham fella, I actually used him. I brought him in to loop a massive week where I had Dewsbury Hall 22 on the bench, and I think Grealish 20 as well as captain. So I'm like, I'm just doing it.
Yep.
So I do need to fade him out at some stage. He's playing about 12 minutes a game, but that's right. It's all, you can accumulate those points.
That's right.
The rest later.
You've got that little bit of leeway. Reminder as well, SC Playbook on X, Instagram, Facebook, all our good stuff from across the network popping up on there. The SC Playbook League still open. You can find the details for that on our socials. And being a subscriber, you can join for just $2 a week. Less than your daily cup of coffee, gets you access to numerous premium deep dive articles on our website every week, gets you access to the WhatsApp community, which is flowing in full fettle. It's great for keeping on top of team changes and all that sort of stuff as it pops up during the week. Champions League again this week, so there's going to be some guys out from those fixtures, contributor groups, and you can trade team advice as well with other members of the community. If you're into your NRL, NFL, getting towards the end of the NRL season, last week in the finals edition, but NFL, cricket about to pop up, as well as the NBA section of SC Playbook, all those branches of Supercoach amongst our community at $2 a week. Gets you all of that. Head to scplaybook.com.au and subscribe in the menu. I'll tell you what, I've got it a little way down the rundown, but I want to pick you up on this, Spy, because you're the expert coming out of the NRL, and Harry West has put a terrific article up this week on base stats and what we're looking for there. For people coming across from the EPL, it's the first year, from FPL, sorry, it's the first year they've had DEFCON stats, great name, as we talked about in pre-show, but it makes up so much of what goes into a Supercoach score week on week. And we've got the high variance in soccer, right? So your Hollands, your Salahs, they're going to go big or they're going to miss out depending on what they do in terms of goals and assists. These are the guys you're looking at to sort of make up the base of your team each week. Can you talk to us a little bit on how this has translated from the NRL to the EPL in your eyes so far this season?
It's interesting, mate. I think especially early in the season.
Yep.
Guys aren't firing, right? As we've seen, there's not a heap of goals. I think there'll come a time very soon, sooner rather than later, where those big hauls are going to be critical to our sides. Like, we want the 25s, 30s, especially as skippers and whatnot. But early on in the season, or just for your cheaper guys, you can build the high upside guys around guys that, like, who have we got in the middle here? Cullen.
Yeah.
He's averaging 9 with an own goal, mind you. He's around the 10 mark without attacking stats.
Yeah.
So you can just build around him and just know each week he's going to knock out, a 6 to 10. Keep your bet building while your high upside, explosive, expensive guys can get the job done for you. So it's very handy like that. But I do think the further the season goes on and we accumulate money, we'll then find we probably don't need them as much. We can upgrade them to guns across the board. But doing a job at the moment, mate.
Yeah, and that's the thing we should be looking at, right? This is something we have to worry about in Supercoach. We talked a lot about it really when we were very early in the season about building cash early in the year and how important that is towards your end of season run. But because these are base stats, right, you're looking more at the defensive side of things to sort of solidify that. Is there a couple that have caught your eye that we haven't talked about too much this year that you've really got your eye on at this stage?
I'm actually starting to go off them a little bit. Okay, right. But where they come in handy, and I won't go specifically into someone right now, but there's some guys you can pick up with super low break-evens. They may be coming off an attacking weekend. Yep. And then you look at them and you go, gee, they could score 1 and 1 in the next 2 weeks. You might have to play them. They might not make as much cash. Whereas some of these base stat guys, if they've got a low break-even and they've got a good base on them, you can plug them in your side, knock out a 6 or 7 as a minimum and guarantee that cash flow. So that's where I think they really come in. I haven't listed all the low break-even side by side, but that's a huge benefit to me for the guys that could then knock out a 1 and a 1 and you're like, oh, what a waste of a trade that was.
So a couple I've got my eye on out of this article from Harry West, and I've written about it in my article for SC Playbook this week. You can find that. The Final Word is the name of that, but James Tarkowski's a really interesting one, probably one of the higher in terms of price, but for Everton at the moment with a good run coming, I really like that. I really like him at the moment and the way that Everton are setting up. Matty Cash is another who is going to add attacking stats on top of that as well.
I got a quick story for you on Matty Cash.
Yeah, go for it.
What have been last year or the year before? I can't remember now, but playing FPL, I was up one night. It was one of the 11 o'clock matches, and I was just watching, turned it on, and he was my defender.
Yep.
On my bench in FPL, he scored a double in 10 minutes. Then the bloke who was meant to play after didn't play, and I got about 23 points in FPL of him. So forever in my heart, Matty Cash.
And another I've been high on, that's terrific. And Villa, I think it was interesting, Villa this week, getting the win, obviously, against Ange, which was not positive from an Australian side of things, but I think they're going to go from strength to strength here on in. Now that duck is off their back, and Quinn Hartman, who's playing for Burnley, starting every week, playing really solidly. It's just picking up points. He's another one that's listed there and still in there at a cheap price, just over the $5 million mark at the moment. So he's one to be looking at down that side. You were interested in Trevor Chalobah, which is interesting coming off this week. Probably not the best time to talk about him, but we've got you in. So the red card this week, but his stats were ones that you were liking heading into the weekend.
He's just an interesting one for 2 reasons. Chelsea's run's going to open up pretty shortly post-international break. And because of the send-off, he's going to be cheap as chips. So you might be able to get someone in that 8 mil range who's statistically been good for a while now. And something that's massive in Supercoach is if you look on their profile and career stats, there's a Supercoach tab and it tells you what they did previous years. And it's pretty evident he's always been pretty good at this, which is huge. But picking someone up that cheaper could be an option. Not saying I'm going to get him, but just caught the eye in that sense. He's coming off a -2 or 3 or whatever it is. He's coming in undervalued in a few weeks with a good run coming. So he's an opportunity there to grab potentially. We'll see how the next outing goes. You can basically watch him play 2 more games now, see how he's looking. The other one I like, already owns Senesi. He's outstanding. Yeah.
Well, any of those Bournemouth defenders at the moment are really standing up. I've got Petrovic, the goalkeeper, but these guys playing in front of them, they are set up for success. This is a team that has been built over a long period of time. They had a lot of defenders leave the club this year, so it's a new look defence, but the structures that they've set up, think your Penrith Panthers in the NRL, are lending themselves to a team that are going to be defensively sound over the course of the year. So I love your pick of Senesi.
I got Petrovic as well. So double Bournemouth defence. Who would have thought? Yeah, getting a job done. And one more I will throw in is Mitchell from Crystal Palace, another team who are killing it.
Yeah,
defensively.
they've been fantastic.
And I did get word, pre-season, I have a bit of a yarn here and there to Matty Ryan. He goes, I forgot to tell you, I really like Crystal Palace and don't captain Palmer against them week 1. I was like, thanks, mate, 2 days too late. And they got the job done and he's bang on the money. He had some word from around there they're going to do pretty well and it's looking that way at the moment. And Mitchell can accumulate a stat, so he might be someone to...
It's great to hear Matty Ryan still into his FP, like... This guy that had this great career has been this fantastic soccer. Obviously, we've got access to Matty Yerman on this, so it's clearly popular amongst these guys. But the fact that he's still keeping an eye on it, fantastic.
I just peppered him, to be honest, and he had to give me an answer.
Why not? Why not get the advice while it's there? One more that popped up in this article of Harry West, again, I'll encourage people to go and look at it, was Bruno Fernandes. And you just mentioned, brought him in, obviously had the missed penalty. It was a weird game of football that Manchester United played against Brentford on the weekend. That goal would have taken it 2-2. They end up copping the third and losing the game. The questions continue over Ruben Amorim's future. But these base stats and the position he's playing at the moment, perhaps more influential than I gave him credit for. I've moved him out. I just can't be sold on Manchester United at the moment. I think they just look so poor, particularly defensively. But he is one, particularly in that role at the moment, that is building up that base of statistics. So the -2 is obviously not great for you this week, but he's still someone who could be building over the course of the season.
He's got base and maybe playing a little bit deeper, get some extra stats.
Whether he keeps the penalties is going to be interesting over the next couple of weeks.
I've got a stat.
Well, his penalty stats over the last...
We know he's ridiculous, right? Before his 2 misses, he was 18 of his last 19, so surely he keeps them. If he loses them after I brought him in, I'll be filthy. But who would replace him? Maybe Mbeumo?
You've got someone like Mbeumo. Benjamin Sesko has been brought to that club to score goals as well. Yep. So, whether they have that trust in him, he hasn't started the season on fire at all. But
Bruno's sometimes keeping it. Let's just put it out there.
Yeah, he's a captain. He's a spiritual leader. I think you're right. I think he will keep them. But
on Bruno as well, and Fernandes there, who, for they don't know the last name, which would be some... Because we've got to remember there's some new soccer people joining.
Yes, 100%.
Bruno Fernandes we're talking about at Man United. If you take out, you can't take him out from the scoring, but based on his career, he doesn't miss many penalties.
He doesn't.
So if he knocks those 2 in like you expect him to, it's a 16-point swing in Supercoach, which means he would have gone 8, 17, 18, 6, 16, 14. He's killing it. And even in FPL, I think he might have been 2 or 3 on the midfielders if he bangs them home, which he hasn't. But I think just stick by him.
Okay. Yeah. Those shiny headlines, just ignore them sometimes. Ignore them. It's the ones that can look for value that is interesting. So let's move away from some of those base stats. I want to get your thoughts on Salah in just a moment. But Grealish is the most traded out this week. And I think that's a real interesting talking point because people were high on him at the start of the year because of the value. He's built that value now. There's an argument perhaps that he's reached his peak, or certainly that's the view of plenty who own him at the moment. He's gone 2 versus Leeds, then he had the 20 against Brighton, 21 against Wolves, 8 versus Villa, 5 versus Liverpool, 5 versus West Ham. He's just scaling back slightly, and I think some are really warned off by the performance against West Ham, who've changed their manager, but have been so poor defensively. I think people were banking on him scoring big there. You've got both he and Dewsbury Hall in, I'm guessing, given the value, and he's not one who's giving you those massive base stats. He's a boom or bust week on week.
Absolutely.
So what are you thinking about him at the moment as an owner?
No, before I did my notes today,
I
was like, you just hold Grealish. He's looking good. He's killing it. You can rely on those assists in particular. Then I looked at their run moving forward.
Yes, it's not great.
It's not ideal. So my issue with Grealish would be he's still going to be my side after today. I can give that away because we've got some other moves to make. But another low score. His break-even's currently at 15. Ooh, it makes me a bit nervous.
Yeah.
He could keep it up. He could keep humming, but we might find that you don't want to lose too much value that he's already built up. And there might be another midfielder you can flip across to.
There's so many options in that price range at the moment,
there is, but do we trust many of them? That's another good point. It's like, do you just hold Grealish? Trades are going to be really important. Let's bring it up now. Palace this week, as I said, they're killing it, but it doesn't mean he can't score against them, of course. City, it's City, but they can be flaky. And
their defence has not looked as strong as it, it hasn't been as solid as always,
Yeah, Tottenham, Sunderland, Fulham. So, might not be as bad as you think. But in saying that, I would have no issues if people want to move off him. Now that he's sort of potentially reached a peak price.
And I know it's using 2 trades, but you look at that, it's that run of the next 3 games, Palace, City, Tottenham, and then it eases up.
Yep.
So it's whether you're willing to wait there, whether you want to spend 2 trades on someone like Grealish, who is going to be a scorer. How many trades you got left at this stage? Already people are at a point where they've moved through probably more than they would have liked.
Exactly.
Right?
And maybe he's a hold for the year, because we get to a point where our midfielders are really good, then you don't have to play him every week. Right. He's just there through that Christmas period, New Year's especially. He might be the perfect bloke to own.
And Everton aren't a team that are playing European football, so they don't have to worry about that. He's going to be a starter for you. I think that's critical, and maybe a hold Grealish. If you lose a couple of million now, doesn't matter. It's won through points. If I then just hold him for the year, you're not losing value by keeping him in there.
And I don't always love that saying, because others will say, yeah, but we can pick him up cheaper, or we can move to someone making money, which is true. But from my own viewpoint, if I can hold him through that, that New Year's period, which is a debacle, he might just pay himself back very quickly.
That's it. Love that. Love that take. One who is in that price range and people are starting to jump back on board with, I think 3rd or 4th most traded in this week, Martin Odegaard, who's, as an owner, I sat through the shoulder injuries, and we talked about him extensively with Matty. It's one you can get through without surgery.
Yep.
And the fact he came off the bench and was immediately a contributor on the weekend was someone picking up points. And you look back at Arsenal, this is my only thought on Odegaard, not looking at numbers, just looking at the influence that he has had in that Arsenal side over the last 2-3 seasons, is when he's been out, they've been legless. And when he has been in, there is such a reliance on him for attacking output. It's putting other players in better positions, it's picking up assists, and then it's finding himself on the score sheet, at least pushing on double digits every year with the way that he plays through the middle of the park. I just love him as a hold for owners at the moment. And if you are looking at moving out one of those mid-range midfielders at the moment, he's someone who is now priced nicely to bring back in at about those mid-5s.
Yeah, I want to buy him.
There we go.
And I might buy him this week.
I've sold you. Well,
I've got a boost up the sleeve, which we'll get to in trades later, but I could go Grealish to Odegaard now and make $3.8 million. And then, speaking of holds for the season, Odegaard's a hold, of course.
I think he is.
Previous seasons, if you go back, he averaged 11 and 11 in 22 and 23. 7.5 last year when Arsenal, their attack wasn't
and he had those injuries and was battling through them all the year.
And he still averaged 7.5. So the other thing is, I watched the Champions League highlights this morning. He played 90, I think, and he was everywhere. Yeah. So
he's that type of player.
I started the year with him as well and sold him. That shows what I think of him. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, there we go. And another Arsenal player, just quickly to touch on who you're keen on, Victor Gyökeres, and his start to the year still fairly cheaply priced and set to explode if he can find a run. Arsenal's fixtures looking very, very comfy, basically up until game week sort of 12 when they take on Tottenham now.
Hasn't been going that well in Supercoach, because speaking of boom or bust, he is the ultimate of that. Like, he could bag 2 or 3 any day, but he can score 1 on others. In saying that, there is a 3rd slot open in the forwards. I think at the moment it's Haaland and Semenyo.
So you're an owner of Richarlison as well, right? Who many people are pretty split on at the moment, I'll put it that way.
It's an interesting one. I mean, I've had him for a while now, so I'm happy to hold at least another week and maybe reassess after international break. But yeah, I think any Arsenal assets, looking at the form line ahead, like they should be looking pretty good. So I think he's one you can make a move on. Do I want him? I don't have an answer yet because it won't be this week. But look, it's a good opportunity this week to have a look against. They got West Ham, don't they?
Yes. So, at home as well.
Oh man, it's a bit nervous.
That's very tempting, isn't it?
So like, I want to get Arsenal assets now.
Yep.
And I love Saka as well. Yep. He's a forward as well in this.
Coming back from injury.
I'd prefer him.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, that's a shout.
But in saying that, striker only needs to tap in a couple without doing anything, and the points go through the roof. So it's interesting.
Hello, Erling Haaland. That's exactly what he's been doing this year. There's not much output elsewhere, but 8 goals in 6 games is not a bad return. A couple of high-priced guys that I want your thoughts on, whether it's too late. Eberechi Eze is an interesting one because he's still sitting around that 9.2. He's a regular starter for Arsenal now. With Saka coming back in as strongly as he has in the form of Gabriel Martinelli, I'm a little bit worried about his place week on week. I think for that price, it's very difficult to talk yourself into moving for him at this stage of the season. But again, an Arsenal asset. And we talked a lot, we're talking just before we came on air on rotations and how difficult it is to pick with some of these. Arsenal tend to be one of the more consistent amongst the big boys, though. So once they're set in their ways, and I think that's going to emerge over the next 2 or 3 weeks, is where Mikel Arteta's head is sitting in terms of what his preferred starting 11 is. I'm expecting Eze to find his way in there. As strong as Martinelli has been, I still think he'll find his way in there. It's just a bit too much of a doubt for me at that price and with the amount of mid-range midfielders that are available at the moment to get him in at 9.2.
I think he could be a huge pod.
Right.
But, as you said, like I'd ask you the question, what are the chances of getting rotated? It's hard to know, isn't it?
And responsibility as well in terms of, we talk about set pieces all the time in soccer and football. I wonder if he's going to be able to slide himself in there, but he's certainly no certainty to put it that way.
I'm a massive fan of him as a player. He's just so much talent.
Yeah.
Someone I'd like to grab as, like, he could be the ultimate pod over the next 4-6 weeks. He didn't play Champions League today.
No.
I'm just having a look, which is good. He might have come off the bench, I'm not sure, but that's a good sign, isn't it, for the weekend?
Yes, that's a very good point as well.
Whereas Odegaard, he played 95 minutes.
I think he's one you'll find that will be in there regardless. If he's fit, he'll be one that's playing. And looking at that Arsenal midfield actually today as well, Trossard won't start on the weekend. Martinelli, again, gets the goal. He's really is playing well. But
as they play, where will he most likely sit?
So he'll be one of the wide players. So he'll either be in Martinelli or Trossard's position.
Yep, so he can go left.
He can play through midfield as well, but I think Arsenal have brought him in to play as a winger. That was where he was deployed most of his time at Crystal Palace. But
maybe the 2 attacking wingers for Arsenal could be on.
Yeah, or do you go one or the other? That's the other thing. Can you overcommit on Saka and Eze in that sense?
With their run, I don't think you can.
Okay.
What would hurt you is if they obviously don't play. It goes without saying. If they're playing, I'm happy to own both. Eze's a risk with role and all that, but he's capable. But I would choose Saka in a heartbeat.
Let's go to Manchester City quickly because you have talked to me just before we came on air as well about Phil Foden as one who has this history of big scores. His form last year was talked about as being a reason that City didn't reach their full potential. He played below his best for the entirety of the year. There were some rumours about some lingering injury concerns. City's side is so hard to crack when you are not at your best.
Yeah.
But they are facing a little injury crisis of their own at the moment. So can you give me your thinking around Phil Foden, and then I guess I'll do my best to answer you.
Yeah, well, firstly, we know how good he can be.
Yep.
My first question, don't answer yet, but will be, is he back? Is he looking like being back? I haven't watched that closely because the thing with a lot of us and EPL
it's the middle of the night.
We watch a lot of mini matches. We don't see a lot of 90s. So
Yeah.
it's sort of hard to gauge form in that sense as well. But look, he plays Brentford this week, who he's coming off 29 and 38 against in a couple of last matches. So he clearly likes playing him. Everton, Villa, Bournemouth. So I'd love to own Foden because of his upside. His value's pretty good, but gee, there's some red flags.
Yes.
So I think the question is, how likely is he to keep playing bigger minutes? Champions League's in there as well. He's a hard one to buy, but man, it could be massive.
Well, so the biggest thing I'd point to is the fact that he has started the last 2 games, both in the league and started against Monaco yesterday as well, next to Reinders. And Pep is showing signs of change in development as a coach, the way he's setting up his teams at the moment, both in the way that he's happy to go for the big boy. This City team is so different to any he has coached over the course of his career, but he is still one who loves those creative midfielders. He loves Bernardo Silva, has given him the captain's armband this year, and he's playing Foden in a different position. I thought they would be almost interchanging in the same spot at the start of the year, and it's the reason I actually kept him out, because I was very high on him in pre-season. I thought, City are going to go back to the level that we expect from them.
Yep.
They haven't quite reached that mark, but they haven't been far off. And Foden coming back in, full fitness. I'm hoping the full confidence of Pep as well. You could talk me into it. I think he's one, and if he does get a consistent run in the team, which I think he's set to, then he's going to be one that explodes pretty quickly. At his price point at the moment, City just score and he's a big part of that. Haaland is not turning up too many opportunities that are created for him, which is a massive boost for guys playing in behind him as well. So, yeah, Foden is one who is very close on my watch list at the moment as someone you're looking to bring in those midfield positions because of the value, because of the potential to explode that he has. And at the moment, he's another pod at the moment. That's the fact of the matter.
Huge. And my final question on him would be, this is where it gets tricky in Premier League. They're the last match of the round. We can check teams in Supercoach an hour out, but everyone's played by then. If you've got him, you've got him. Unless you go to another City player. If he comes off the bench, do you think he sits the entire 90?
No,
or he comes
and that's
20?
that's another point, is that if he is relegated to the bench, and I actually had a couple of players who did that on the weekend. Sarr and Ødegaard come on, impact the game late and actually score points. So he's one with that potential as well.
But also the potential to score 0 and 1 if he plays 20 minutes.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point.
He's one for the risk takers.
Yes.
And it could pay off massive.
That is beautifully put, Spy. I could not have said it any better myself. Let's have a look at some of the most traded in, some of the headline guys this weekend. Sean Longstaff, a really interesting one. Leeds United as a whole have got to a stage where they are picking up results consistently. I was warning people away from promoted sides at the start of the year just because of the record. The last 2 seasons, both sets of relegated sides have gone down and have looked dreadful. That's not the case this year. Sunderland are acquitting themselves really well. Leeds United at home have been outstanding. They were very unlucky to lose that lead late against Bournemouth, but it's the fact that they are getting that attacking output. Sean Longstaff is one that's grabbed the headlines. I'm not set to move on him just yet, and I would encourage people just to be patient there, but he's someone whose value who could build very quickly. There's better options ahead of him for me, but at 6.5, that is a very, very tasty price point for someone who is going to be playing every week. Again, doesn't have European football. There's probably room for 1 or 2 of them in your midfield at the moment. Those guys, your Grealishes, your Dewsbury Halls, and your Sean Longstaffs now.
For what it's worth, Dewsbury Hall looked very good again and nearly scored.
He was outstanding on the weekend.
But Longstaff, look, the reason I've got him in at the moment, the reason isn't for anything to do with New Year's football and all that. It's for the next 2 weeks, he has a possibility of making 3-4 million. And then I'll slot him straight back in for my boy, Cole Palmer.
Oh,
for the same price.
So you're still... Okay, this is interesting. Let's dive into that talking point. Your Cole Palmer take here. Someone you owned at the start of the year, has been moved out, has so many injury worries, which is a massive ward-off for Supercoach players. What are you thinking about him? The 3-4 week spell?
My thoughts are I just love him, so I can't not have him.
Yeah, right.
But it's the upside factor. In the midfield, there's not a lot of guys with that upside. Well, there's no one that has his upside. I'm sort of hoping that month off finally gets him rolling
his body
again.
right.
He actually played really well the last 2 games before the injury. He looked like he could be back. But if I grab Longstaff now, who has a little bit of base in him from the look of things, hopefully it's a 6.5 now.
Well, the fact is Leeds are still going to be doing a lot of defending, right? And that's where a lot of those base stats are going to be built up.
So if he scores 11 and 13, this is just on the estimated, which is a fair bit. That's pretty good. He's 11.8 million in 2 weeks. So pull it back a little bit and he might be 10, 10.5 or 10, whatever it may be. And Cole's going to be about that after his injury as well. So I can straight swap him.
There we go.
And what we'll find is there might not be a lot of blokes who score a 33 at that price range. But it just means their price is going through the roof. So might just be too good to pass up in the short term and sell him in 2 weeks.
Yes.
If he scores 33 2 more times, we'll keep him. No dramas. But additionally, he nearly had, just watching that mini match, he had 2 assists. 2 extra assists he could have had. So
against a solid defensive
50.
Side in Bournemouth as well.
And he's had goals in the past, so I think he's the kind of bloke that has that upside, even if it's sporadically. Plus the base, just to go, let's put him in for a couple of weeks and we can straight swap him for nearly whoever we want in a few weeks. That's the upside for Longstaff, in my opinion.
Okay, let's move to second most this week. And he got the goal, Gabriel. So another headline-grabbing performance. He was one of the most expensive defenders in the game, along with Virgil van Dijk at the start of the year and some of those guys who are coming off big years like your Munoz's and your Anthony Robertsons at Fulham. He's now up at 10.7. He's not going to get a lot higher than that, I don't think. So if you're looking for a value build, that's not your guy. But Arsenal defenders at the moment are good as gold. And,
So if you get Gabriel, he's a keeper. You get him in now and you keep him. That's sweet. I actually think he could be a little bit overpriced based on previous seasons. Like, he's rock solid. He's got like 3 or 4 headers a year.
Exactly.
We've just missed one of them.
Focus on set pieces. Yep. He's going to get attacking stats.
We've just missed one of them, which I hate. Like, I'd rather already own him.
Yep.
But in saying that, you could plug him in and he'll just do a job the whole season for you with some upside on those headers from set pieces. But I'm personally, and we'll chat about it when we get to trades, I maybe want another defender who's a bit cheaper.
Okay, there we go.
From Arsenal.
We'll tease that one.
Yeah.
We'll tease that one. Another Arsenal, we talked extensively about them. Declan Rice is coming back into some people's view as well at 7.8. A guy with a good base in the position he plays. Another one that's going to be starting every week for Mikel Arteta. And again, he's sitting around that sort of 7.8 mark at the moment, which is an interesting one.
Good value.
Yeah, it's good value if you can rely on him. Yeah.
Down from the 9 mils and with a hell of a run moving forward, or a decent run, he'd be pretty good for a while. You don't have to keep him forever.
No.
Might be the next 4-6 weeks.
That's a very good point. And now one you're very keen on, Santiago Bueno, who was one that popped up in Harry West's article on Base Stats over the weekends. Wolves defender, which on the face of things, you go, okay, they're going to be copping goals. So how has he managed to build this base? But at 5.8, that is a value defender if you're able to get him in.
This would be like Longstaff, but the Temu version, I reckon.
Right.
But for the same reasons around Longstaff, he's going to make quick cash, then you can flip him for whoever you want just to hold for the rest of the year then. So that's basically one trade to do it and one trade for the upgrade. So as long as it's someone in defence that you wanted to get rid of anyway, you're just using a one extra trade to bridge to a gun. But he could score -2 and -2 because you concede so much.
Yep.
If they cop 4 and 5 against him, could be a worry.
Fortunate thing is the draw, their fixture is not looking likely to do that, at least for the next month.
It's a great draw.
Brighton at home, which is tricky, but then Sunderland away, Burnley at home, Fulham away. Those are, at least 2 of them are winnable games for Wolves, and they're not going to be games they're copping massive beltings in by any
stretch. It's
stretch.
Man City and Liverpool, you go,
then it's different. Yep.
But it keeps him in the conversation for me. The issue probably around him as well is, I think, and I could be wrong here, but from looking today, I think he's got 1 goal and 1 assist in his whole career.
Yeah.
1 goal was last week.
He's not an attacking player by any stretch of the imagination.
With the goals conceded, even if Brighton put 3 on him, he could get 0.
Yeah.
And then, but maybe if you could bring him in and play him on your bench, let him hopefully build some value over the next month. But there is a risk he goes 0-0 and doesn't make much cash.
Yeah.
Or he bangs out 20 again and he's the most expensive player in the game soon. But it's just more unlikely than a Longstaff, who I feel like could do it again. He's capable of another 20-odd.
And on set pieces as well for Leeds at different. They've actually got a range of guys that have been banging in those free kicks. We're talking about.
He definitely took one corner like when I was watching, so good enough for me.
That'll take it. Small sample size, we'll take it. And then you're already an owner of number 5 this week, who's Anton Semenyo, who I think plenty have missed the boat on, including me. I don't think the output is going to get markedly better from here on in, but someone, I can't argue against him. You're keeping him for the entire season at the moment. The way he started this year, and Bournemouth just on such a good trajectory as a football club at the moment. He's going to keep getting chances to bang in goals.
You reckon you're a chance to definitely hold him?
Yeah,
if you're an owner like me.
If you're an owner, 100%.
At least in the interim, while we'll see how things play out. In terms of whether you're buying him or not, it just depends who you want in your front 3 there, to be honest.
And how much cash you've got. People are split on Salah at the moment, so he's one I want to get your thoughts on. But
what I'd say on Semenyo is last year, every time I watched him, he's
at the heart of everything.
I feel like he's one of the best in the league at getting in space with no one around him. And he doesn't always put it in.
No, so but it's also great at dropping in, getting the ball deep. The way Bournemouth play allows him to do that. Got a very fluid front 3 with Dave Brooks sort of darting in off one wing. And he's a player, as we saw against Liverpool early in the season, he's a guy who can just get past players and produce opportunities for himself, one of the quickest players in the competition. One thing I will say, he's going to be AFCON affected, and we'll have a chat about that towards the end.
17 or something?
Yes, for game week 17. So you got a little bit of time to line up those trades. Still 10 game weeks away, but he's one that is going to be. So just be conscious of that as well.
Yeah, for sure. But there's long enough to go.
Yes, exactly. 10 weeks to go. We're not worrying about that yet.
If Semenyo can improve his finishing, which he looks like he's doing, he's freaking good. Man.
I think he'll be off to a bigger club at some stage in the near future.
Yep.
We've talked a little bit about Jack Grealish. I just want to get your thought. I'm a João Pedro owner at the moment, and Chelsea not playing to the top of their range. Their draw going forward is tricky as well. They got Liverpool at home this week, then they go away to Forest, home to Sunderland, and then away to Tottenham. That is not a straightforward stretch. There's 2 games in there that you're looking at scores for Chelsea players. He's number 3 on the most traded out behind Grealish and Dewsbury Hall, funnily enough, this week. Sitting at 9.8, he's lost me money since he's come in, which is actually making me reluctant to move him on for that reason. I just think playing up front, Delap is still a while away. And if he can retain that position until Cole Palmer comes back in, that's going to be a space where he can really explode off the back of things, because the draw for Chelsea does ease up towards the Christmas period, and then you're talking about guys going away for AFCON and that sort of thing. If you can wear it, I think he's a hold for owners at the moment, but certainly not one I'm jumping into at this stage of the season.
I have some interesting thoughts on João Pedro.
Go for it.
I nearly bought him about 3 weeks ago.
Which is when I jumped on.
Yeah, and a lot did, and it made sense. 2 of the games, Chelsea got a red card.
Yes,
so they're playing short.
Makes it very difficult.
Straight away, you're like, it's not good for my striker. Palmer basically hasn't played. International break next week. Palmer back soon, or sooner rather than later. If you extend after the international break, let's just get through the Forest game. Then it's Sunderland. Tottenham, sure, a bit tricky, but not always. Wolves, Burnley, Arsenal trickier, but Villa, Bournemouth are going better. So that sort of makes it a bit harder, but they have Sunderland, Wolves, Burnley.
There are points
Villa.
there are places he could explode.
There's some big games he's capable of hitting there. Everton after that. So it's not like it's stacked with a hard run.
No.
I get the feeling he's probably going to explode again. And anyone who sells him might be filthy. But in saying that, if you're moving to someone who's equally as effective with upside, that's okay.
Yeah.
You just got to nail the right person. I think whoever wins this year probably nails their front 3.
Yes.
Outside of Haaland.
That's it. Isn't it? Because Haaland's, I think he's up towards like 70% owned now.
Maybe that third spot could be a difference maker. Is it Pedro? Is it someone else? Is probably the question you need to ask. If you think he hits form again, I think he's more than capable in a lot of those fixtures. But who knows, mate?
Yeah, who knows?
That's the beauty of sport.
This is the beauty of the game. And just 2 more before we wrap up this little chat and get into some stuff on AFCON and trades plans for this week. You're an owner of both Diouf and Mickey van der Ven, who are sitting at that sort of mid-range defensive player, have had really strong starts to the year, but just dropping off a little at the moment. West Ham, it's funny because their form as a whole is actually looking as though to improve, which I guess you're lending yourself towards a hold on Diouf at the moment.
It is an interesting one.
Yeah.
I'm scared because it's West Ham,
yes.
Right? What, in your opinion, do you think they hold as a reasonable defensive unit?
Yeah, I think they're going to improve markedly. The coaching change and the way Nuno Espirito Santo sets up his teams, and we saw that with Nottingham Forest last year. He took them right to the top.
Okay, so I didn't realise it was Nottingham last year.
Yes, exactly. So
I might hold him because they were so good.
They were impressive, and that was based on their defence, and then just having a striker that scored goals. Jared Bowen is going to do that for them, playing up front. He's a really interesting one to watch going forward, as well as someone who's classified as midfielder but is actually playing up front. Someone made that point this week. I can't remember exactly who it was. He's highly priced, but I think West Ham are going to be an improver over the course of the season. Things are toxic there now, but it's very easy in Supercoach, particularly as in sport followers, just to get stuck in what's happening in the present. I think with time, Nuno's going to turn them around. So I'd be urging a hold on Diouf, would be my thoughts purely from a watching West Ham and the way they played on the weekend. That's good to know,
because I was 50-50 on whether I'd trade him out, just the fact he's a West Ham defender. I also don't have to play him every week, so I've got Senesi.
Your defence is stacked. I'm very envious.
So with that being said, he's loves an assist as well.
Yes,
he nearly scored.
Player will get forward.
First game of the round of the year. Sorry, nearly scored a goal. So he's going all right. Maybe I don't rush him out and just see how things hold there.
Van der Ven, how's your feelings on Tottenham?
Well, he scored yesterday, so
I think Tottenham are drifting slightly towards what they were last year. I'm not saying they're going to go all the way down to 17th. Don't fall into that trap. And their run for the next 4 or 5 is not too difficult, but they're still a side who leave themselves exposed defensively. And despite the fact that there was a thought Thomas Frank would come in and fix all the set piece issues that they had last year under Ange Postecoglou. That hasn't necessarily happened. I know they scored from a couple early, but they still look a little shaky. And the fact that Vicario is such an enigma in goal behind them. And when you're talking about defenders, it is something you have to look at because he's letting in goals that he shouldn't be at the moment. And the best example of that was against Brighton, where their second goal, it was just like, that is something a Premier League, your defence has done everything right.
Yep.
You're basically having a long bomb from range and your goalkeeper has basically not even got close to it, which I think is a bit of a worry for me when I'm looking at a play like that.
Break even 19.
Yeah.
You have changed my mind on my defensive trades.
Okay, there we go.
I'm going to keep Juve in the short term and Van der Ven, your cut, mate.
There we go.
The reason being as well, I just mentioned then, but he scored in the Champions League yesterday, so he's got that upside. He scored 3 weeks ago. Around that, though, he scored 3, 1 and 6. Break even 19. I can cash him out now.
Yep.
Seems like, based on what you just
I
said.
don't think he's going to be building value over the course of the year.
I mean, is he a keeper? Probably not. So
you could make that argument because he's a player who's going to start the entire year. Pending injury, which really cruelled him last year, and it was soft tissue. It was a hamstring. We haven't seen any sign of that this year, but if you are thinking about trading him, I'd be urging you to move him now. If you're thinking of him as a keeper, that's fine. I can also be sold on that side of things because Spurs are going to be a team that are keeping a few clean sheets over the course of the year, particularly as they sort of find their feet and get back into their rhythm. I just think what I've seen from the last couple of weeks has been a little bit worrying, particularly from a defensive standpoint. It was a couple of those things that were that really affected them last year, starting to creep back in. I don't think Romero's playing at the same level he was a year ago, and that's a concern for me as well. So, and
you know what? Ange is gone, so bugger him.
A great shout. Great shout. Buggers, they're a bit of a hate watch at the moment for some of them, aren't they, Spurs? Everybody's a Nottingham Forest fan now.
Yeah.
Right. Just a couple of injury concerns to keep you updated with. You've touched on Cole Palmer, the groin. So he's ruled out for 2 or 3 weeks at least. Let's hope he can get that right.
And for owners, worth noting, international break next week.
Yes.
So if you're
worried about injuries, you
still could hold. He could be back in 2 games. But it's a lot of money.
Yes, it is. And it's a couple of zeros you're going to have to wear amongst that.
Depends on your bench.
Yes. So. Trevor Chalobah suspended with the red card last week. Again, if you can afford him on your bench, not one to be trading out just yet for all the reasons Spy's given us. Rodri had the knee, left out of the squad entirely against Burnley, but then was back in action against Monaco for Manchester City, but then was subbed off midway through the game for Nico Gonzalez. So I'm still thinking he's one.
Who was that? Sorry, I missed
Rodri.
Okay. Oh, well, he was one of my notes to you.
There we go.
He's the ultimate midfield plug-in. Because you don't have to play him every week, hopefully you can check sides. Yep. Anytime he starts at that price is remarkable.
Yep.
We know what he's done in the past.
Yes.
And I feel like every time I watch City, he's within a whisker of scoring a goal. So that's coming as well. But yeah, we need him playing.
He's going to be on heavy rotation until he gets that knee right. I was shocked to see him in the squad against Monaco, given what Pep had said during the week that he wasn't ready to play 3 games a week. I don't doubt him at all on that.
Yep.
He's got someone who can fill in for him there, in Nico Gonzalez, and has done a fairly good job.
You're telling me City have options?
Yeah, right. I know. What a shock, huh?
That's weird.
What a shock.
But what I meant was, he's the perfect bench
when he
player.
is playing. Yeah. What's he? He's still at like 3.9, right?
Yep. Or 4.
Or just over 4. Sorry. Yep. Just over 4.
Whenever you want, I think you just get him in on the bench. I'll do it for the guy that doesn't play for me. Basically my nuff in NRL terms. And just keep an eye on lists. Anytime he starts, bang, straight in.
I like it. I like it. And Tino Livramento, this was cruel. As someone who'd been pushing him for the entirety of the first 2 months, he's got a knee injury. Newcastle is seeking a second opinion on it, but the initial diagnosis was an ACL. So he's one you're moving on at the moment. Really disappointing. Such a talented young player. I can't wait to see what strength he goes to once he is back, but 12 months looking like on the sideline for him. Let's get into the trade plans for the week, Spy. What do you think? You've got some pretty in-depth... Well, yeah, I was going to say, you've got some pretty in-depth ones by the sound of things.
Changed. I think I'm going to get Longstaff in.
Okay.
That will be for Dewsbury Hall, who, again, I'm not probably that keen on selling, but with a tough upcoming run... I mean, you can't have everyone. There's so many options.
I'm interested that you're going for him rather than Grealish, right? It's just the price point?
Well, the thing is, I could sell Grealish and have a lot more value to then hold, so... It would just be a case of in the next couple of weeks, who would I rather play? Maybe I'll get off both of them. Though.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just Everton and get who I need to do. They've scored well. They've made me money. I might be thanks for coming, boys, and move off them. I've got a bit to think about over the next 2 days, mate. It's actually Saturday morning this week, isn't it?
Yes.
5, I think. So I've got to do it tomorrow or tonight. Longstaff will come in though, just that money-making opportunity with some upside. I find it hard to ignore this time of year while I'm setting my squad up and trying to get to that perfect side or near perfect side. My second one is I need Arsenal.
Yes.
I feel like I need Arsenal. Wouldn't mind shoring up my defence a little bit more, even though it's pretty strong. Maybe I don't need to. Calafiori. Talk to me about him. Is he minutes-wise, rotation risk?
So he had a really interesting start to the year because of the injury to Willie Saliba. So he's been played in a central position, but we're still scoring.
Yeah, he's killing it.
And the fact of the matter is Miles Lewis-Skelly, who was sort of the risk to his spot, has basically not been sorted off nobbies. So that's really encouraging if you are looking to move on him. I think he's dropped a little bit in value over the last couple of weeks as well, which means this could be the time. I back that as a
He's come off
choice.
Liverpool, City and Newcastle.
Exactly. Arsenal's start to the season was incredibly tough. I cannot overstate it.
So he had a goal and 2 assists in the first 2 weeks. Is he still in positions to do that, is my question?
Yes. So with Saliba being back fit now, he's going to be playing as one of those fullbacks and he's going to have attacking opportunities, absolutely.
He's coming in then.
Yeah,
done.
There we go.
He'll come in for, I think Van der Ven's now cut on the back of your words, mate.
Okay, there we go. I hope I haven't pushed you into it.
That's right. The thing is, if you have, I've kept you off anyway.
Yep.
And I can trade him out next week because his break-even's only 4. So it's safety there.
You're making that move.
Yep.
I'm actually looking at no trades this week for the first time all year. I'm having a thought. I've held Jeremy Frimpong for an immense time. I'll talk you through my thoughts on him. So after the late goal they copped against Crystal Palace, he came off the bench and that was initially something that really made me, the alarm bells were going off that he was coming off the bench when supposedly he is fully fit. Then Arne Slot comes out straight after the game and makes comments in reference to one player, didn't name the player, who was looking to get forward. And if you go back and watch the tape, he loses the goal scorer for the goal, looking to sort of get forward. So the comments were aimed at him. And I was looking at that after the weekend going, okay, it's time to move on Frimpong. And then he started in their game in the Champions League up on the right wing, which was completely bizarre. So he's brought in, is known as an attacking fullback, someone who was getting forward when he was playing in Leipzig. And, you know, in pre-season, a lot of people were banking on him sort of doing that. He had the injury setback with a hamstring. And then that move has just got me completely flummoxed. I don't know what he's going to do. He started Szoboszlai, who was a central midfielder, but came in and filled that position while Connor Bradley and Frimpong were suffering injury concerns. And then Szoboszlai makes a howling error in giving away a penalty, playing in that position. So I'm completely flummoxed as to what Arne Slot's going to do with him this week. Whether Bradley comes straight back in, I'm thinking that's probably the most likely scenario, but I have to wait to see teams.
Who would you trade him out for?
That's one that's really got me in a knot at the moment as well. I'm sort of looking at Juve. I've got just over $1 million in the bank, so I could make that trade work. And I've just talked to you about how high I am on West Ham at the moment. So that would be the thought, but I'm waiting very patiently. The other one I'm keen on is actually Patrick Dorgu, who's playing for Manchester United. And I know they're playing poorly, but he is finding himself in these positions that are just terrific in terms of an attacking sense. And just looking at Man United's fixture, they've got Sunderland at home this week, then they go away to Liverpool. So I'm hesitant to make that move. If I make the move this week, or next week rather, I'll be holding that and I'll just move to Diouf. But he's still one who is relatively cheap, Patrick Dorgu, and I think he's been getting in some positions. If he can find a bit of final product, he's going to be someone that United are going to consistently. The way Amorim sets his team up is with a 3 at the back, so he's actually being used more as a winger than someone who's got all that defensive responsibility. So he's one I've got my eye on, but I'm just hesitant to make that play before I know exactly what's happening with Frimpong. Because if he goes into that attacking position, mate.
Both those guys played before Liverpool, so you either have to make the call or you just sit back, as you said, and you can do it next week.
That's it. I do have that time.
West Ham play Arsenal, so you probably don't need you.
Don't want to do that before next week. Don't need him this week. And then, so sit on that. then they've got Brentford at home next week, and I can make that call with a little bit of an easier run.
I think trades are too important that if you're not sold on it,
if you're not sold,
just put the feet up. It's all good.
It's okay to have a week off, and that's what I'm thinking at the moment. I've got this in the rundown, we've addressed this quickly. Worries on AFCON, covers weeks 17 to 22. Just guys you should be aware of that are heading off. We've touched on Anton Semenyo, who's going for Ghana. Mo Salah, this leads us in nicely. We didn't get there, so let's talk about it quickly before we get to captaincy plays. What are your thoughts on him as a non-owner? I guess you're split like I was with when to get him in, or are you thinking you might just leave him entirely until the African Cup of Nations?
Well, it seemed almost too easy to pick him up cheap, but he's barely been cited.
And his break-even is still relatively high, right?
He scored, I don't know exactly what it is, but something like 2 goals and 2 assists, but nearly all of them have been either last-minute penalties or last-minute assists, which, credit to him, he's got the job done for Liverpool, but it's not like he's missing chances or they're nearly around the corner. So I'm just wondering, do I get him at 8 mil next week for Richarlison? I mean, assuming he doesn't go psycho this week, which he could at any time, as we know. And then just hope for that massive bag, which he's capable of. Or do you think the style Liverpool are playing just leads him to being too wide and harder for opportunities? Or do you think it could come at any point?
I think it could come at any point. I think he's had a slow start of the year. I think his quality is undeniable.
Yeah.
And
then it probably will.
He's one of the best historically in this game of all time.
Oh, last year was insane.
Yeah. Of all time. It's annoying that he's classified as a forward correctly, as the point we made. You know, they still have him down as a midfielder in FPL, which is staggering. But, you know, he's someone who is going to come good at some stage during the year. It's just about when that is and whether it's actually before he goes away for Egypt. Like, that's going to be a really interesting little spanner in his season, is how AFCON affects him and whether that actually plays him into a bit of form against teams that are going to give up goals against him, and whether he's, you know, looking for that little confidence boost. It's hard to think a player of his quality is searching for that, but on the eye test, that's what it looks like to me at the moment.
It's not a bad run coming up for Liverpool.
Yes.
My only question isn't so much, I mean, it is, can he find his tricks again, which, based on what you're saying, the only reason I wouldn't get him is if you told me, look, I just think his role is too wide, he's not getting in positions. But if he's a sniff,
it's not too different to what it has been. And I think the fact you make the point that the fact he hasn't actually had that many opportunities to really ram things home and is still scoring, like that's a big sign. That's another sign that something could be just around the corner.
And it's a new team. They've got new guys.
That's right. It's going to take a while to gel.
Combinations.
I wasn't sold on Liverpool at all early in the season, but I was banking on it coming, and that's actually when the results have turned for them a little with 2 losses in the league.
Do you think Isaac will help him? Hinder him?
That's a really interesting one as well, because he has been with that style of player before, and it's not affected him. He's different to Roberto Firmino, who was probably the best foil for him, if I can put it that way. It's a different style of player he's playing with, no doubt, but I think he's done that before, and There's
no other stars there. Oh, there is. So my third slot at the moment would be Saka, Salah, or Isaac.
Yeah.
It's like, is Salah going well enough to outdo Saka? Saka's got injury concerns, a little bit of rotation there. But I'm sort of half thinking Isaac could be a monster in that Liverpool unit.
Yeah, he's a really interesting one.
Both.
All this, and all the stuff early in the year, it's hard to know how that affects a guy like him.
Yeah.
I was worried by the performance against Galatasaray, and the fact Hugo Ekitike is out now for a little bit of time with an injury himself means that Isaac's going to get a clear run at the first team, and starting week on week. I think the goal return will have to come. He's such an impressive player, and he's someone, I should have mentioned this when we were talking about it initially, who is capable of bringing others into play. He's not just an out-and-out goal scorer like Haaland, who sucks up so much of that goal-scoring responsibility for Manchester City. He's not purely that sort of player. He's someone who likes to come and get involved deep in play and can actually, I think if he and Salah can strike up a relationship, they make sense together. From someone who just watches football and loves to think about how teams are put together, I think they are bound to to fire at some stage. Right, we've got away from just what we're talking about there. El Hadj Diouf, another one being brought out for AFCON. Pape Sarr is going to be there, as well as Mohamed Kudus. They're, I think, the 6 most owned players that are going to AFCON at this stage of the season. So if you have them in your team, just start lining things up for 10 weeks or so. Captaincy plays this week, Spy.
I'll go off topic real quickly.
Yeah, go for it.
Richarlison to Salah next week for Man U.
Yeah, right.
We averages about 14 goals a game against.
Yeah, that's a great point as well. That's a great point.
Time at Anfield, just back into the swing of things, then into Brentford, Villa. I might try to get our boy Salah in next week. I also enjoy watching a lot more.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't watch Liverpool, who I go for, and Salah in my top 3 favourite players, and be like, oh, don't score. It's very awkward.
Yes. Get yourself out of that emotion. You've got an emotional hedge on him at the moment, don't you? There you go.
Salah's coming in. But captaincy. VC will be Semenyo or Bruno to bounce back into Haaland.
Yeah.
I'm sure everyone's doing that. But, I mean, in this game, Supercoach, if you've got someone, like I have the Everton goalie third choice.
Yes,
so I know he's not playing.
Yep.
I can basically get a free loop nearly every week except for their early games. So if Semenyo or Bruno, I'll decide that closer, goes off, probably with... They'd probably want to score...
What's your line? I'm interested on this because everyone's line is a little bit different for when you're flipping, and Haaland is such a monster.
Changes week to week.
Yep.
But it's also, say Semenyo scores 15 again, it's very hard to pass that up.
Yeah, the sure thing.
But it's Haaland.
How's
Brentford's defence?
Brentford, solid. Looked really good against... I say that. Manchester United had chances in that game. But
Haaland's due not to score eventually, but it could be a while.
Well, and he is one who just... He ran 93 goals in 101 appearances.
Yep.
Like, it is... It's cataclysmic for defences coming up against him.
And if he...
and he was quiet on the weekend. He still got a brace. Like, he really didn't look in that game whatsoever. And City sort of run away, but he gets the 2 late goals anyway. Because
he scored 2 yesterday as well, so he got 4 in 4 days. But if he doesn't score, he scores a 1 or a 2.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. You may be locking in a 15 is pretty handy and you just do it.
So I'm thinking the same way. That line is about right for me. Salah's the vice-captain. I need to be there when he finally explodes, having invested in him now. And Haaland the captain. No secrets about that for most. Spy, thank you for stepping in today, mate. Really appreciate it. We'll have to do this once or twice before the end of the year. Just get you in.
I'll be keen, don't you worry.
Exactly. Give us all these numbers and all this deeper analysis that you put into it. I'll tell you, some of the boys that are sitting next to me week on week, just fly-by-nighters. Anyway, we'll have Garby and Matty.
I was going to bag him, but I don't really know him very well.
we'll have Matty and Garby, hopefully, pending schedules, but we're looking good to all be in here next week for you ahead of the international break, wrap up everything that's happened over the first 2 months, where we're sitting, what our long-range plays are looking like, all that sort of good stuff. Thank you again for joining us. Make sure to get to scplaybook.com.au. $2 subscription. It's nothing. Get on there. Get all that good content into you and enjoy the football this weekend. A reminder, 5 a.m. Saturday is the first game of the weekend, so you need to have everything locked away by Friday night. But until next time, have a good one and we'll see you.